Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We got a lot going on in the chat, including Pogo Picks. He says, here for Sia to humble brag that he was 5-0 yesterday. I'm not going to humble brag about being 5-0 yesterday. I'm going to humble brag about being 10 out of the last 11, including early wedge picks. And that doesn't include your 60-1 hit on Sami Valimaki for the RSM Classic. Here to humble brag about that. But honestly, that pales in comparison to what you're about to see. Let's look at the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. We got a lot of NBA, college basketball, and NFL to talk about today, but let's take a look at this recap screen. 15-4-1. Look at Danny Brasco, a sweep in UFC, 5-0. The SportsLine picks 3 out of 4. Buckets wins his pick and pushes another one. Mikey B, 2-0. Chip Patterson, 2 out of 3. I go 2 out of 3. There's your one loss right there with the 3 ball at plus 100. 15-4-1 is unbelievable. And I don't know that we can replicate that winning percentage, but I know we can try. So let's bring in the stars of the show. We got a lot of Monday Night Football to talk about. We got, again, college basketball, a lot of SportsLine picks that are college basketball oriented as well. Mike, you got a college basketball pick, a lot of NBA today. Where do I start, Larry? I usually start with you. Sunday's reaction. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for some reason is the Cowboys coming back on PropStarz Eagles. But what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? I mean, Kansas City, Mike McClure's Kansas City team figures things out as well.
Yeah, the Cowboys were one of the things one of the only things I had right yesterday. Congrats to you. Congrats to Alex. Congrats to Mikey and Mikey B. Not a good day for me personally, but the Cowboys, I thought they were the right side the whole game, and I was not surprised that they came back and covered that spread and won that game outright. The Chiefs, on the other hand, they didn't cover, but yet they outgained them in terms of first downs, 33-10. After those early downs, the Colts couldn't do anything. Punt. They couldn't even hold the ball. That was very impressive by the Chiefs. They basically doubled them in yardage. So in that case, if you had the Chiefs, you probably feel unfortunate that you didn't cover. I should note some big news in the NFL, but not surprising. Shane Bowen is out. Chip Kelly is out. And can we talk about why coaches will not kick a field goal anymore at all?
Are you referring to last night's game, the Bucks?
Last night, but also the Giants with the chance to go up 6, instead enable the Lions to come down and be comfortable because they know all we need is a field goal.
Yeah, that was interesting. Mike, I was on HQ earlier last week, I should say, and we'll get to picks in just a second, but I just want to get your take on the Chiefs because I had a Super Bowl exacta I gave out. It wasn't who's going to win the Super Bowl, but it was the Rams versus the Chiefs. And my whole point on the Rams was an easy call for me. The whole point on the Chiefs was they just always find a way to figure it out. Do you think this team is just going to figure it out and just march their way to the Super Bowl? Because honestly, if they make the playoffs, I don't see a lot of AFC teams that are much better than Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, if they get in, I think it's hard not to like him at that point, particularly just from a motivational angle too. Pat Mahomes as essentially an underdog at that point, I think that he would certainly embrace that. As far as what Larry said, it was the most dominant performance I've seen in a long time where the scoreboard didn't show it. 33-10 in first downs, 450 yards of offense against Indy. Kansas City's defense was great. Credit to Indy's defense, a heck of a play on the tipped interception that essentially became a pick 6. That otherwise, I don't think the Colts score but 13 points in that game max. I think that Kansas City defensively certainly was there. As far as how often do I think they're going to go down and have that many first downs, that many yards, that kind of time of possession and not score touchdowns? I think credit to Indy's defense, but yeah, it was an absolutely lopsided performance in that game.
All right. I do want to get to picks. Give me 15 seconds, Proppy, on the Eagles giving up that loss. Are you super worried about this team, or once playoffs come around, they'll be fine?
Not super concerned. More impressed with Dallas than I'm concerned with the Eagles. Dallas offense, very impressive. Dak is playing exceptional football right now. I think the Cowboys offense is very good.
That was a great response. Philadelphia Eagles fans, take note of that response. That was giving credit where credit was due. That was good stuff. All right, Mikey B, I'll get to you in a second. Let's get to some picks. Tet McMillan. Okay, so we have a lot of picks for this. We have a few picks for this game, I should say. But if you have questions about this game, especially from a prop angle, we've got the whole team here to answer those. We've got first touchdowns later on as well. But Larry, start us off with a Tet McMillan prop.
Yeah, Ted McMillan is the clear alpha in the Carolina Panthers offense. And you just love the fact that he's getting a 30% target share, that he's 6'5", that he's such a long strider. He can take a short one and go very far. And I love that they're using him now in the slot sometimes. They're getting him some quick throws to kind of vary his route tree. And you just have to love the matchup, though. 49ers are dead last in pressure rate. They cannot get any pressure. The Panthers are actually second worst. So I love the total in this one. I love this game to have a lot of points because neither team can pressure the quarterback. And as long as Bryce Young has time, this is his clear number one target. So I think, if you get the potential trailing game script like the 49ers jumped out against the Cardinals and then allowed 47 completions, then this one will cash easy. But even if it's a competitive game, I think Ted McMillan will get 8 to 10 targets and he'll clear this number.
What's interesting, I don't want to invest too much in what happened with Bryce Young last week, but I do think the ingredients are here for the receivers for Carolina to succeed. And we'll talk about this later because it influences my pick as well. And for Bryce Young to actually have a decent game. PropStarz, go ahead.
Also worth noting, the 49ers really struggle against wide receivers and against quarterbacks. The last 5 games, they're number 2 as far as EP, which indicates quality opportunities and fantasy points over expected as well. So they've been extremely generous to opposing wide receivers. Larry, go ahead.
And I should have said, this is at 63.5 where I got it, but I would play it up to 67.5.
It's funny. I hate when this happens. I don't know why I'm saying this now because I'll give out my pick in a little bit. Mikey B, I want to go to you next with your NBA picks, but I was putting in a pick on the SportsLine tool, which is great. And as I was doing it, I hit refresh because it had stalled. I had stalled for a couple of minutes. I was looking at some other things, and the line shot up 4 yards, which is just a kind of a terrible feeling because you put that pick in and people get the advantage of putting it in at the better number within, usually it doesn't change for, 10, 20 minutes, maybe in a couple minutes. But either way, I'll get to my pick in a second. If you're a SportsLine member, you already have it. Mikey B, talk to me about some NBA picks. You've been on fire. Let's see if we can keep it going.
All right, first we're going to go to the Rockets-Suns game. We're going to do Alperen Şengün over 16.5 rebounds and assists. Now, he was limited to 5 rebounds and 6 assists in his last game, but that was a tough matchup against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Prior to that, he had combined for at least 17 rebounds and assists in 10 straight games. He's averaging 10 rebounds and 7.3 assists per game for the season. This is the second game of a back-to-back set for the Suns, so that means Mark Williams is likely going to sit out for rest. He hasn't played both games of a back-to-back set all season. Also, the Rockets will be without Kevin Durant. He's out for personal reasons, so Şengün should have the ball in his hands even more, and I like him to go over 16.5 rebounds and assists. And then I'm going to do Ryan Rollins of the Milwaukee Bucks against the Trailblazers over 21.5 points. Giannis is going to miss his 3rd straight game here. The last 2 games that he missed, Rollins had 32 points against the 76ers and 24 points against the Pistons. Giannis has missed 4 games this season, and Rollins has scored at least 24 points in each of them. He averaged 20.8 shot attempts per game over those 4 games. It is all Ryan Rollins here. What I also like is Drew Holiday is out for the Trailblazers. He's one of their best defensive guards. So we're going to take Ryan Rollins over 21.5 points.
It's interesting. I was watching Mikey B, the Bucks and the Pistons. I think it was Friday night. It was in Milwaukee. Giannis wasn't playing in that game. You might have said this. He's not playing in this game either, or is he, Mikey B?
Yeah, he's out. When he originally suffered his injury, he was said he was going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks. I believe it's been 6 days. So no, he's not playing tonight.
So again, it's a watered down Milwaukee Bucks, and this is why you have Ryan Rollins because he's been stepping it up since Giannis has been out. But this Detroit Pistons team looks really good. Before we get back to more picks, how seriously are you taking this team? Because again, we refer to the East as kind of a watered down East with all the major injuries with teams like the Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. Should we be taking this Pistons team seriously in terms of maybe a top 2 team in the East?
I think regular season record-wise, yeah, they could be. They're deep, which is key in the regular season. Cade Cunningham's taken his game to another level, and Jalen Duren has been great. He's just completely dominated the paint for them. They have the depth to be one of those, kind of like the Bulls when they had Derrick Rose. They had a lot of really good depth back then, and the Pistons have similar depth to help get them through nagging injuries during the regular season.
Larry, by the way, Proppy, do you have any thoughts on the Detroit Pistons?
I agree with Mike. I think they're really impressive during the regular season. I don't have a lot of confidence in them in the postseason when rotations tighten up. Cade Cunningham is phenomenal, but I just don't think they have a secondary scorer or playmaker really that kind of will separate them from a very good regular season team and potentially being a playoff contender.
Yeah, that's totally fair. We have Proppy, your NBA pick to get to. Mike's got a college basketball pick. We got SportsLine college basketball picks, my NFL pick. But I want to get to this question from Sean. He says, is San Francisco defense bad? Like he's questioning, like, hey, is it a bad defense? Larry, this defense right now is pretty bad when you consider the injuries, right? And I think he's asking the question because we're talking about lack of pass rush and we're talking about, taking overs with Carolina receivers and perhaps a Carolina quarterback that I'm going to talk about. I mean, we don't have Mikael Williams. We don't have Bosa. We don't have Fred Warner. We don't have Bethune. Like this defense is, especially on the front seven, right?
Yeah, you don't have Gross-Matos, another defensive lineman. You have another defensive lineman who's questionable. So they just don't have the personnel right now. They can't pressure the quarterback. And, it's working out for them because the offense is healthy. The offense is absolutely loaded right now. Purdy's back. CMC is a machine. Brian Robinson even looks good. The receivers are back healthy. Kittle's amazing. And so it just lends itself to shootouts. That's the only way I can look at this game is over the game total and over the Panthers team total, even if they're down multiple scores, playing that catch-up mode, getting to 21. I think it's at 20.5 right now, is a great look.
Panthers team total. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think San Francisco mirrors Dallas in a lot of ways. High-powered offense. The defense is completely broken. I know they have the reputation of being a good defense, and it's hard to sink in. They're 26th in EPA per play allowed, 30th in defensive success rate, 28th in EPA per dropback allowed, 29th in defensive success rate on dropbacks. This defense is broken and has been broken for a while. And then again, as Larry mentioned, and we've talked about, the offense is playing really well. So it's kind of the perfect recipe in a lot of ways for a lot of individual player props against the 49ers and for them as well.
I'm starting to like that Carolina team total over, Larry, that you just talked about. Maybe something I'd consider putting in later. Get your stake back in cash if your first touchdown scores second instead. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game tonight. And if you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. We're going to have some first touchdown scores for you to consider. But again, this is your BetMGM second chance cash back first touchdown score or second touchdown score, however you look at it, promo there. All right, how about some sports line picks? We're going to go to college basketball with two greats, Tom Casale and Bruce Marshall. Tom is on Alabama plus 4.5 at -110, and Bruce Marshall's on Rhode Island -2.5 at -110. More NFL, more NBA to get to, and of course, more of your questions right after this message from our partners.
Critics agree Landman is a hit.
We roll the dice one last time.
Men die. Oil companies don't.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Mike, there's a question in the chat from Eric David. He says, we getting a first half team total? And what's interesting is, well, Eric, you are getting a first half, but it's not a team total and it's not in the NFL. So, Mike, you can feel free to speculate on the NFL game if you want, but you have a play on St. John's, Iowa State.
Yeah, I like unders in the NFL game tonight, but I like unders in college basketball as well. St. John's and Iowa State. This is a neutral site game in Vegas, very similar to the first college basketball play we had on the show. Is the exact same play, the exact same number, two somewhat similar teams. These teams are great teams. St. John's wants to play with a ton of pace. Iowa State, very neutral in terms of pace, very good defensive team, also good offensive team, no doubt, but certainly going to have the ability to dictate some of that pace here. So I'm going to go under this big number in the first half, fading the 77th point. Again, I keep going back to the fact that I love the idea 40 to 35 game early in a neutral site, and I'm still cashing an under ticket here. I think this number should be 73.5, 74.5. I think it's off by over a full possession here. When I look at these two teams, though, it really comes down to, again, neutral site, and then the first really, really, really tough test of the season. I know St. John's played Alabama. That was a track meet. We knew it was going to be a track meet because that is the preferred style of play. Now you're talking about Iowa State, first real tough test here. I think that the defensive intensity wins out early. Again, unfamiliar building, talking about neutral site, a few missed shots in the first half of this one. Going to go under 76.5 in the first half here.
All right, we got St. John's, Iowa State, first half under 76.5 at -110. Larry, I'm going to go to you in just a second, but John Romero pointing something out that I probably should have said earlier. This Rhode Island game is at 11 a.m. We've got college basketball all day. So Pogo Pick says, just realized that we have degenerate day gambling on college basketball today. And then again, John letting everybody know, which I should have done, that we've got a game at 11 o'clock this morning. That's one of our two college basketball sports line picks. Bet responsibly, everyone. Just because it's on during the day doesn't mean you shouldn't be betting responsibly. So you can bet it if you want, but don't let it ruin your day. That's when you know you're not betting responsibly. Larry, we talked about, and this is going to lead right into my prop, but we talked about the San Francisco injuries. And we also talked about how San Francisco is pretty healthy on offense. I mean, we are finally getting San Francisco on offense like we probably haven't seen. Yeah, they don't have Brandon Ayuk, but everybody else seems to be relatively healthy. And I think that means we're looking at a negative game script for Carolina, especially when you consider the Carolina defensive injuries.
Yeah, they're both of their starting inside linebackers, Roseboom and Wallace, are out, which is exactly what you don't want to have when you're facing Christian McCaffrey. His total for rushing, receiving, sitting at 120 right now at most books. And, I could only play this over. It's also his first game against the Panthers, his first game against his former team. He has not played them since he was on the 49ers. So it's definitely looking like a monster game for him.
Yeah, Kipper's pick says CMC combo over 121.5 at -114. He says it's only going to climb. I mean, that's probably true. PropStarz, any thoughts on this 121.5?
Just a big number.
Yeah.
Sure. I do think McCaffrey more than capable of going over, but lots of mouths to feed. I do worry if Carolina is capable of pushing San Francisco a little bit as well. I know the defense has been bad, but Carolina's offense has been woefully inefficient. Not a lot of confidence in Bryce Young on the other side of things. I'm not sure this is the optimal game environment for McCaffrey to get well over this number. So lean over. I think the number's efficient.
Well, I'm never one to back Bryce Young, except for today, because I do think his passing yards total is, considering the circumstances of this game, is pretty low. Now, his total, I mentioned it earlier, at FanDuel, it was 204.5, like literally 25 minutes ago. And then it changed everywhere. It sort of reset to 208.5 at DraftKings, at FanDuel. BetMGM always had it in that 212, 213 range, which is probably where it should be, in my opinion. Bryce Young has only gone over this total twice this year. One of them was last week when he threw for well over 400 yards. Is like the game of his career. I don't know that he'll ever throw for more yards than he did last week. And what was happening there was I guess it was the Falcons just daring him to throw the ball, like making sure that the Falcons didn't get gashed with the run, daring Bryce Young to throw the ball, and he did it well. But I'm honestly not relying on last week when I look at the Bryce Young total here of 208.5. I just think, again, when you look at the San Francisco offense and how easily they're going to move the ball, especially when you consider those linebacker injuries with Carolina, I think San Francisco, they're going to put up a lot of points. And I think at some point in this game, you're going to see Carolina abandon the run. I think we'll see some run pass early, but I think they're going to end up abandoning the run because I think they're going to be down. This is a 7.5 point spread, and I think that spread is probably where it should be. So you're looking at a negative game script. You're looking at a San Francisco defense that doesn't apply pressure to the quarterback, which is huge for Bryce Young and his efficiency. When you apply pressure to Bryce Young, it does not go well for him. But when you don't, when you can't, and when you have a negative game script, all of a sudden you can start to pile up yards. And that's what I think we're going to see here. If you just look back the last 11 weeks, it has not gone well. You would not be taking the over here. But again, I'm looking at what this game has to offer. I like Bryce Young over 208.5 passing yards here at -113. This is as high as I would go. And I think if you get this, if you were to bet this now or even an hour from now, I still think it would be 208.5. I don't think I would. I guess maybe I'd bet it at 210.5, but nothing higher than that. I already missed the 204.5, so I don't want to go much higher than this. Larry, any thoughts on this 208.5 before we get to PropStarz NBA pick?
The Niners are much more respectable against the run. So I do like this look, especially if, San Fran jumps ahead, which, most people are expecting. I do like this look a lot. I think Bryce Young, is making strides. He's got good receivers now. Coker, it looks good. Leggett is getting better. Tet is great. I think I'm not saying a great wide receiver core, but a very competent wide receiver core, unlike some of the other young QBs in the league.
They're all playing well together right now and all happen to be healthy, playing well together right now. And again, you include the negative game script, you include the lack of pressure. I do think Saleh's going to throw a lot at Bryce Young. I do think he is going to make sure that Bryce Young wins this game for them as opposed to Rico Dowdle in the run game, which again, I think probably opens things up. I think some yards after the catch are certainly in play for Bryce Young here. Liddy, speaking of humble brags, or just straight up brags, Liddy won the FFT DFS contest. Liddy's in this chat pretty much every single morning, a huge member of this early edge family. So that's what, $170, $175 your way, Liddy. It's only a $5 contest, and Liddy took it down. Fantasy Football Today, DFS. We do it every week. We'll do it this week as well. So Liddy, good stuff there. Proppy, let's go back to the NBA. Well, you've got a play on Russell Westbrook. I suspect it's an under.
It is indeed an under, Sia. Yeah, we're going under 28.5 PRA for Russ, who's still playing minutes in the NBA, much to my surprise. But here we have the Sacramento Kings, one of the absolute bottom feeders in the NBA. Their roster is a complete mess. Russ playing big minutes. He's been woefully inefficient. I don't think he can sustain his current level of production. To his credit, he did have a good game in his last game versus Denver, shot 9 of 16 from the field, was fairly efficient, stuffed the stat sheet, but the Kings have a logjam of volume scorers and guards. So I just don't think these performances for Russ are going to happen very often. And it's a tough matchup tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves team, one of the best defenses in the NBA. They're also very good against limiting production of opposing guards. So I do expect Russ's efficiency to struggle. I don't think this sort of pace lends itself to a lot of rebound and assist output either. Also, even though they're at home, the Kings are 8.5 point underdogs. So there is some blowout potential here as well. So I think Russ struggles tonight. I'm going to go under on his PRA.
I want to stick with basketball, then go back to football and some more football questions. The basketball's from Sean. And Mike, you might have addressed this in the chat earlier, but for the audio listeners, Jayhawks -4.5 versus Notre Dame. Is that something you like in college basketball tonight or today?
It is, yes. You can find the spread 4.5. I've got the number closer to 10, to be honest with you. I think that I know Kansas isn't necessarily at full strength, but I do like them to pull away in this one. They've been tested a little bit early, and I do like them. Side note, I did for Feast Week upload the full sim set on the SportsLine Discord server a few minutes ago. So you can see my number for most of the college games today. I ran it for 38 games.
So if somebody were a SportsLine member and went to the free Discord, they would see it in the college basketball tab?
They would.
And if you want to be a SportsLine member, good news. You can go to sportsline.com/join. And if you go there and you type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. That's sportsline.com/join. Type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. That gives you all the picks and all the data and all that stuff. But it also gives you the SportsLine Discord, which especially for Thanksgiving week, I think is going to be really fun. By the way, FFT DFS, this hasn't been confirmed, we're probably going to do that show live right after the early edge on Wednesday. And that'll be just for the Thanksgiving slate, I believe, that 3-game slate, which we absolutely love to play. So stay tuned for confirmation on that. But FFT DFS, we're hoping to do 2 episodes this week, one before the Thanksgiving slate and one right after the Thanksgiving slate for the Sunday main slate. Just throwing that out there. Larry, I know you had something. Before we get there, though, Ray Garcia has a question about the total here, Mike, which I believe is around 49.5. Now, I could have sworn you said earlier you kind of like some unders in this one. So talk to me about this.
Yeah, I do. It's a big number. I know that these teams are capable of getting there. I know San Francisco so far this season has struggled a little defensively. I think when they get the offense back, though, I think the offense is going to be able to stay on the field a little longer, perhaps put the defense in better positions. I still think it should have been 47 at most here. So I'm going to go under. I like the under 49.5. I think whether the Carolina Panthers have success or not with it, I do think they let Dowdle touch the ball quite a bit and run that clock. And I think that the Niners side, McCaffrey's going to run, Robinson's going to run, and we're going to have high completion percentage passes. I think that clock's going to be moving tonight.
Larry, that is a fear of mine, that the San Francisco offense is so healthy and they can just kind of do whatever they want. And maybe the game plan is to leave Robert Saleh's defense, as banged up as it is, off the field to some degree. With that said, I still like, the props we gave out. I still like them both, but I absolutely understand this argument. Either way, I don't know if you have a response to that, but I know you did have something to add for this game.
Yeah, I lean the other way, but I just want to say this Thanksgiving slate that we have and the Black Friday, I don't think we've ever had 4 games like this. When you talk about Packers-Lions, then you talk about Chiefs-Cowboys, which is interesting, and then even Ravens-Bengals is interesting because of Joe Burrow coming back, and then you get Eagles-Bears the next day. I don't think we've ever had 4 intriguing matchups like that on Thanksgiving / Black Friday. But the other thing I wanted to point out is, AI is the rage. AI is taking over the world, but I didn't realize it 100% until I saw Proppy's Twitter feed and how he could get Uncle Dave to serve him a cheesesteak, which I'm pretty sure didn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think that did happen. Proppy, what were you on the prop show this week? I was 3-0, but I think you were 4-1?
I was indeed 4-1, and I also won the showdown versus Dave, and he's currently shipping me a cheesesteak. So I've actually been researching the best cheesesteaks to order. I'm thinking about John's Roast Pork. If there's anybody in the Philadelphia area who has a recommendation in the chat, knows of a cheesesteak that also ships to the West Coast, please let me know.
And if you are listening to this after the fact, get into the YouTube comments and let us know, because that's information we actually need. We're going to circle back to NFL. We got first touchdown scores, a couple more questions, but Mikey B, there are some basketball questions in here for you. Duncan Robinson over 2.5 threes made is plus 125. Jay Long wants to know what you think.
Yeah, I don't mind that at plus odds. Jaden Ivey is supposed to be back, so it does kind of add an extra body for the Pistons rotations. But when Duncan Robinson shoots, it's threes. So, I mean, he could take 6-7 shots in the game, hit half of them, and they're all threes. So, yeah, I'm okay with that at plus money for sure.
Mike McClure, go ahead.
Yeah, just back to the Thanksgiving slate. It's, Packers-Lions for that division, essentially, and then Chiefs-Cowboys. I think Chiefs-Cowboys is a playoff eliminator. And I think that either team is a team that nobody wants to necessarily play if they get to a playoff situation. But I think that game is truly a playoff eliminator. Whoever loses between Kansas City and Dallas ultimately misses the playoffs there.
I'm very much looking forward to that. Of the 3 games, that's the one I'm probably looking forward to the most, just by a slim margin. And it happens to be on CBS, so that's pretty great. Mikey B, thoughts on this 2-leg NBA parlay? Dallas, Miami over 240.5, and Toronto having a good season so far, plus 2.5 at plus 253.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got some good odds there. Toronto is playing the Cavaliers. We're not sure about the status of RJ Barrett. He's an important player for the Raptors. On the Heat side of things, Tyler Hero is expected to make his season debut tonight. He'll be on a minutes limit, but that's another scorer for a team that plays at a high pace. I don't mind it. I wouldn't bet it myself, but I don't mind the logic behind taking those 2.
How about Larry? Thoughts on Bryce Young 2+ touchdowns for plus 120?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think, that they're going to have to throw, and that's where San Fran is weak. And I think the passing game has improved. It's not the same old Panthers anymore.
All right. Let's go to, you can still put in questions.
Defensively, they might be the same old Panthers, though.
Yeah, fair enough. If you have more NFL questions, we might be able to get to them before the end of the show. So put them in the chat. Make sure you're hitting the like button, by the way. And let's get to our first touchdown scores. Let's see what we've got here. I mean, I'm going hero ball here. I had such a good week that I'm just like getting cocky, and I'm like, okay, well, when does Kyle Juszczyk get the ball? It's usually early. And if we're going to go with the backup tight end theme, that's what I always do, like the tight end too. Like I could absolutely see, let's say it's a pass interference call. San Francisco has it at the 1-yard line. Juszczyk line up as a fullback, CMC behind him, and then you got play action, and then Juszczyk just out there in the flat. And he's 100-1. That 100-1 is over at FanDuel. I think it's like 50, 60 to 1 pretty much everywhere else, but I couldn't pass up the Kyle's use check 100 to 1 for a sprinkle. Let's go to something more modest, but not that much more modest. Larry Hartstein, Ja'Tavion Sanders.
Yeah, Ja'Tavion Sanders has only played 8 games, but he has 9 red zone targets. That's not far behind Tet and Leggett, who have 14 and 10 respectively. And if you look at the last 3 games, the Niners have given up 4 receiving touchdowns to opposing tight ends. So, hopefully we get the ball first, we drive down, and they hit the big man over the middle, and we cash, 30 to 1.
You know what's going to happen, right, Larry?
What?
It's going to be Tommy Tremble. It's going to be like just not Ja'Tavion Sanders.
There's a third tight end too. I can't think of his name right now, but he gets involved. I should say, Ja'Tavion Sanders has 9 targets the past 2 games, so he's not an afterthought in that passing game.
Mike McClure, if I was choosing a more reasonable first touchdown score, it actually would have been Juwan Jennings. And for the record, I think Juwan Jennings prop, and like Captain Overs here, but I think Juwan Jennings prop and Ricky Pearsall's prop are at least interesting, and I lean more towards Juwan Jennings over, but I kind of like both overs. But Mike, you like Juwan Jennings to score the first touchdown?
Yeah, I like him to score the first touchdown. As far as overs in the game on a lot of these players, the healthier this offense gets, the less interest I kind of have. I think the ball gets spread around just a little bit more. So I'd be a little cautious on that point. But I do like Juwan Jennings early in the red zone. All the focus will clearly be CMC and George Kittle in that red zone. So give me Juwan Jennings, kind of catches one over the middle in the back of the end zone here. For the 49ers, plus 1,100, the best number on that one.
Mikey B, a big target for Bryce Young, not just Ja'Tavion Sanders as a big guy, but he's pretty big too, and he's the best receiver on the team.
Yeah, Larry talked about McMillan's 14 red zone targets. 6 of them have come inside the 10-yard line. So with the 49ers averaging, giving up 28.5 points over their last 4 games, I do think the Panthers score. And let's go with the big guy. We still get plus 1,000, so let's give it a try.
Proppy, David says Big John's steak and onion. That might be an option for Big Dave, Uncle Dave, to send you a sub. George Kittle. So talk to me about first touchdown. I don't know if you've looked at his matchup or his yards, but I know people in the chat are intrigued by both. I think it's 54.5, which sounds a little high. I'm not taking it, but it is a good matchup for George Kittle. Either way, you like him as a first touchdown scorer.
I do. 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Carolina is extremely generous to the tight end position. I agree with M Squared, though, regarding this game. I think a lot of unders are attractive from a prop standpoint. I think a lot of these numbers are awfully inflated. And as Mike mentioned, the 49ers offense is as healthy as it's been probably all season. There are lots of mouths to feed in this offense. And this number, again, these numbers across the board look very big to me. So there's a good chance that I will put out at least one play in this game, and it's very likely to be an under.
Let's go around the board here before we get to the recap screen. We haven't really talked about the point spread here. So again, these are not official plays. We don't have an official play against the spread. We're going to talk more about this game against the spread and from a total standpoint on the 12 o'clock early edge show on CBS Sports Network. We'll also look at some look ahead lines. I know there were some questions about some look ahead lines. So we're going to talk about that. And of course, Tom Casale, Emory Hunt will be giving out their early college football FCS group of 5 plays as well. That's 12 o'clock on CBS Sports Network today. But BetMGM has this at 7.5. We already talked about the total a lot. So, Larry, before we get to the recap screen, if you had to take a side here, would you be taking the points at plus 7.5, or would you be laying it with San Francisco at home?
Definitely taking the points, Sia. And it's not me saying that the Carolina Panthers are a good team that's a playoff team. I'm well aware of all of their faults, and I think they're going to get shredded. But I think their offense is going to do enough against this 49ers defense, because if you look at the season-long metrics for the 49ers, you're going to think their defense is not horrible. But if you look at the last month, you're going to see how horrible it is. I mean, when you even in garbage time, you let Jacoby Brissett complete 47 passes.
Yeah.
I just think this Panthers offense is going to have a lot of success, enough success where you give me a full touchdown, 30-23, whatever it is, 31-24. I like that angle because, even down 14, you can get the garbage and cover the spread.
Mikey B, I'm going to you next. I will say I was considering when I saw the passing yards line, Again, it was 204.5, then it went to 208.5 for Bryce Young. I was considering the completions at 20.5. My thought was if he were to get 21 completions, it's likely he gets over 208.5 passing yards. So that's part of the reason I just didn't go with the completions there. I'm looking for some yak, to be honest with you, hoping I get lucky with one or two long catches. Mikey B, what do you like here?
I'll be on the other side of this poll that Ben's showing here. I'll take the 49ers at -7.5. I just don't feel good about taking Bryce Young on the road. Just can't wrap my mind around it.
That's my issue, Mike. That's where I get why people would be on the Panthers 7.5, but like I feel like when it gets out of hand for Bryce Young, it really gets out of hand. So I could absolutely see like a 14, 17-point win for the 49ers. Robert Castro says, shout out to my daughter Layla. She is 15 today. Happy birthday, Layla. I hope I didn't miss any birthdays in the chat. Mike McClure, what do you like? Which side?
Be on the Niners side at 7.5 still. Not something that I have played and really have a ton of interest in going to play, but I do make the number up over 8. I think that the 49ers offensively are going to have their way and really be able to put up points there. So I think that Bryce on the road, I'd rather not be investing in Bryce on the road at this point.
PropStarz, the way he said that, it reminded me of JJ McCarthy, who, of course, you had his under of 191.5 passing yards. And we've spent some time on the show, the Prop Show last week, talking about how bad JJ McCarthy is. Anyway, that leads us to Bryce Young. Do you take the points here or do you lay it, Proppy? If you had to. I know this is not a big
I lay it
for
with
anybody.
the 49ers. The Pythagorean win theory has this Panthers team as one of the worst 6-5 teams in NFL history.
Yeah.
I would agree with that as well. They are not a good football team, despite what their record indicates. And again, I'm not overly impressed with the 49ers. I think they're overrated as well, but I rate them a lot higher than I rate this Panthers team, especially at home. I could see the Panthers getting completely routed in this game.
So Layla, birthday girl Layla, turning 15, likes the 49ers. A lot of 49ers love on this panel as well. All right, let's see. I think it's time probably to get to the recap screen. But again, if I had to, I would lay the points as well. If it gets down to 7, I don't think it will rock down to 7. If it does, maybe I'll put that in as an official play. But Bryce Young over 208.5 passing yards, -113 is my prop. And Ted McMillan over 63.5 receiving yards, -115. That's the prop from Larry Hartstein. Mike McClure is going to college basketball, St. John's versus Iowa State. First half under 76.5 at -110. Then we go to Mikey B, Alpert Sengun over 16.5 rebounds and assists at -114. And Ryan Rollins over 21.5 points, -130. Another NBA pick, Russell Westbrook under 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -115. And then there's some college basketball here, including this first game, Rhode Island -2.5, -110 from Bruce Marshall. Starts in 20 minutes. Alabama +4.5, -110. That one courtesy of Tom Caselli, and that one does not start in 20 minutes. Our first touchdown scores, Kyle Juszczyk, 100-1 at certain places, 50, 60-1, 65-1 at other places. Anything north of 50-1, I think, is worth a sprinkle on Kyle Juszczyk. But how about some more reasonable first touchdown scores? Jatavion Sanders, 30-1, says Larry Hartstein. Juwan Jennings from Mike McClure at 11-1. Ted McMillan from Mikey B at 10-1. And George Kittle, nice matchup for him at +750. That one courtesy of PropStarz. What a show. What a great show. We'll see you again on CBS Sports Network at 12 o'clock. A lot of content coming your way this week. We're not taking any days off. We've got a Thursday early edge for you. We got a Friday early edge for you. So hopefully you can stick with us all week. At Fantasy Football Today DFS, we'll have a special Thanksgiving show for that. All our CBS Sports Network shows, those are on as scheduled. College football show, NFL pick show, all of that stuff is on schedule. So hopefully you can spend your week with us, but we do appreciate you spending your Monday with us. Big thank you to Mikey B, Larry Hartstein, PropStarz, Mike McClure, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Thanks for spending your Monday morning with us, folks. We'll see you next time. We rest our case.